It was a Sunday morning. We were locked in, the yard was not open yet. He took his sheets off the bed. He tied the door closed with his sheets. And then he wet the sheets so they couldn't untie them. Then he wrapped himself in toilet paper. He squirted that toilet paper with baby oil and lit himself on fire and killed himself.
Wait, you do the intro.
What intro?
Do it.
I don't want to do no intros.
You've listened to the podcast before, right?
It's time the podcast with the host, the boss. You're gonna edit it anyway. And P.
Yeah.
And I'm Dave Coleman.
You are Dave Coleman. So P, say hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Guys.
Guys.
Dave Coleman and boss.
So we've got Dave sitting here, so I have a suspicion that you've got something special you want to talk about tonight.
I do. So I've been haunted by this story that you told about the guy who had his bags packed and thought he was going home.
Samuel Harrell. He was in Fishkill. In Fishkill, they have a special unit that is made for people, for residents who have mental illness. They have counselors that work with them. They have inmate aides that work with them, and they have COs who are specially assigned to them, for the most part. And Mr. Harrell got it in his mind that he was going home, so he packed his stuff. He had his stuff all in the burlap bags, ready to go. And he told the officers that my mom and them are coming to get me. And instead of calling someone that could deal with this, obviously, lapse in reality, they proceeded to call the goon squad, handcuff him, beat the crap out of him, throw him down a flight of stairs while he was handcuffed, and he died from the beatings that he received. There was about 12 officers and a supervisor. And it was investigated. The coroner had determined that it was a homicide, and it was investigated by IG, and nobody went to jail for it. Nobody was indicted. They all covered each other's behind. They all took each other's back. They all lied. And his family is still fighting it. You'll see every year they have a march to Fishkill. And this is what usually happens when you have mentally ill people within the prison system instead of in state hospitals where they used to go, until our genius governors decided that they were going to close most of all the psychiatric hospitals.
Yeah, that was Pataki that did that.
Yeah, there's one left. I think there's one in Orange County and one in Rockland County that I know of. I don't know, there may be another one upstate, I don't know. But I wasn't in Fishkill when it happened. I came back after it had happened. I came back in 2015, but it was still a touchy subject. But what happened while I came back from Fishkill, there was another gentleman. He was in the ASAT dorm, and he had issues. And he went to the officer and he said, listen, he basically said he had suicidal thoughts. And so the female officer, the saint that she was, told him to get out of her face and to man up. And he told her, my blood will be on your hand. And she pulled the pin, and when you pull the pin, the squad comes with super sergeants, COs, and instead of the sergeant saying, okay, what happened, she said that this inmate threatened her, and they proceeded to tackle, handcuff, and drag him to the box. And before the day was out, he was dead. He hanged himself.
Oh my God.
And IG investigated it. They had multiple witnesses because this was an open dorm, and nothing happened to this officer. So you want to talk about mental, and I worked in a clinic at Auburn Correctional Facility, and we had guys who were suffering from various mental distresses, I would like to say. And some were real and some were fake. And I'll tell you a story. There was a guy who was in his cell, he was in B block, and they sent me and my friend to go get this guy, to go clean his cell, because the officers was already brought him to the hospital, or he was on his way. This guy had defecated all over his cell. I mean, he had just, sploon crap all over the walls. So, we cleaned it up the best we could. Really wasn't my job. So he gets to the hospital. They give him an isolation room. They don't give him a hospital mattress. They give him the regular, that little cloth, that black and white striped crappy mattress that they give everybody else before they came out with those 2-inch foam things. He rips it open like a sleeping bag, and he crawls inside while he's in the isolation room. Now it's my responsibility, one of my responsibilities, to feed this gentleman. He wigs out on the other guy who we call Green Eyes. For some reason, he didn't like this guy, so he would react. So when I went to feed him, he was in his homemade sleeping bag, and I went in and I said, hey, it's just you and me be clear about one or two things. One thing is, don't be spreading no feces. I didn't use those words. I said, don't put no shit on my walls. All right, I got to clean it. And if you put shit on my walls, I'm going to use you to clean it. All right, let's be clear on that right now. All right. Number two, just refer back to the first thing I just told you. Always remember the first thing I just told you. So, and he did. He did not do any of the stuff that he had been doing. And people say, well, what did you tell him? And I told him just what I told you. I told him, you put shit on my walls, I'm going to use you to clean it. So I don't know if he was faking or if he wasn't faking. I know that he heard me in that moment and he didn't do it, which was thankfully because I didn't really want to clean shit off the walls. Now, I'm not saying that he was not mentally ill. Obviously, he's mentally ill. I don't know. I just know that how I dealt with it at that time, because I was a nurse's aide and I was, and the guy I worked with, and we weren't violent. We would talk to people.
In psychiatric facilities, we don't hear about patients spreading shit on the fucking walls. This is only a prison thing, right?
I've seen it many, many times.
That's their only, you have to understand,
Because
that's their only weapon. That's the only weapon they have.
In the box, though, right? Only in the box? Or you mean...
Well, they always end up in the box because they do it. So they don't start in the box.
That makes it seem like they've been
Let me ask you a
told that
question.
this is something... How can everyone who's mentally ill just think of that?
Well, let me ask you this.
So are they?
If you were reaching out, crying out for help, however you do that, and people are telling you to shut the fuck up, lay your little fucking whatever racial epithet comes out of their mouth, tell you basically to go fuck yourself, what other choice do you have besides killing yourself, right? You have no weapons. You're locked in your cell for 23 hours a day. So the only way you can, and nobody's talking to you, nobody's trying to help you. So although I don't agree with the method because it's nasty, it's filthy, it's all those things, but you know what? Some of the people who got that thrown on them, who wore blue, they probably deserved it.
Maybe.
And then
Maybe not.
I've seen one guy, I remember one guy in Auburn when I was the box porter last time I was ad seg there. And this guy was totally naked behind glass in his cell, jumping up and down on his bed, bouncing like a trampoline, and masturbating at the same time and just singing at the top of his fucking voice. And he did that for hours every day, just hours and hours.
Yeah, and he doesn't belong to be in prison.
He would just do it until he just passed out from exhaustion.
This is so sad. This is so fucked up.
They don't know how to deal with it. COs are not trained to deal with mental illness, and they don't care. Because you do have some COs who are trained with those special units, like in Sing Sing, they have a special unit, they have a special ward for these guys. And yes, the COs have less control because they have psychiatrists and psychologists and all these people that are dealing with these guys, but not always. Because the COs have the ability to swap their shifts.
Yeah.
They could swap with anybody, it doesn't matter if they're trained.
Right.
And so somebody who's not trained, and a guy's is having a moment, they don't respond as if somebody who was trained to deal with them.
Yeah.
And so violence, that's what they're taught. You control people with force. That's it. But and the other side of that, and you'll agree with this, you also put strain on the other convicts. Because you put these guys in population, how are we supposed to deal with them? If you can't deal with them, how are we supposed to deal with them? Now, some guys are really good at dealing with it, all right? They understand, they got compassion, they got, some empathy, and they're able to do that. Everybody's not able to do that. And so these guys get abused, especially if they're of serious mental disability. These guys get abused. They get taken advantage of and all this other stuff, and nobody cares. You can have psychologists there. You talk to them, once a week if you're lucky. They'll have a little group, sing along, Hey, Johnny, how you doing today? Well, Doc, I'm doing pretty good. And that's it. And I'm not saying that they don't have good intentions, but they don't have, those guys do not, if you're criminally insane or of diminished capacity, you don't need to be in that type of prison environment because you're not going to get the treatment that you need. What they do is they medicate the shit out of people. When you go through, how many times did you know guys who went through reception, they tell them, hey, having trouble sleeping at night? Well, of course I'm having trouble sleeping at night, asshole. I just got thrown into a fucking cell with a bunch of maniacs around me. Yeah, I have a little bit of trouble sleeping. Well, here, take this.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they medicate people And if you already have an addiction problem, oh my God. When I was at Bear Hill, these guys were selling their psych meds like it was okay. You know, they take it, they don't swallow it, and they, you know, under their tongue and their cheek, whatever. And then they take that and they sell that for cigarettes or whatever to some other guy, which, you know, that's the whole hygienic thing for me.
Snort your wellies.
COs know one thing. Do what I tell you or I'm going to whoop your ass. That's all you need to know. When they put that poor boy out of ASAT and took him up to the box because the CO lied on him, the COs in the box, they're in the box for a reason. They can't be in population. COs, just like inmates, these guys can't be in population because they have violent, because they're violent. They're you know, that's the only thing that they know.
Yeah.
And so when you throw somebody who has suicidal tendencies, he told you he was going to kill himself, and he did. So how do you put this guy in a box instead of putting him in an isolation cell with nothing that would endanger his life? Because you know, sometimes they put you, they take all your shit off. They put him in a regular cell. He hung himself. After Harold, they had incorporated, the governor, Como, had brought in some guys from ex-FBI guys and some other guys in. But it's still the same old, same old. That's like, you know, the police investigating the police. Really? Seriously? I mean, unless you're, you know, some altruistic guy or person who, you know, really just wants justice served, they're just finding reasons to cover each other's ass. You know, yeah. COs, just like police officers, are not trained to deal with mentally ill people. Those are people who get paid. Now, just think about the people who live with these people.
Yeah.
So you get one of these guys next to you in your cell, and he's having a moment, and a lot of them cells are metal fucking walls, and they're like banging on the fucking walls. Yo, dude, stop banging on the wall. He can't stop banging on the wall for whatever reason. All right. So all that shit is doing is pissing people off. So now somebody comes out and they do something to this guy. These guys do not fare well in the prison environment because then they shouldn't be in the prison environment.
Yeah. When you said they're taking advantage of it, are you mean they're a target of rape?
I don't know if that's 100% true in New York State, but it's not unheard of.
Just
let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying they make them wash clothes, they do dishes, they become a slap boy, do what I tell you to do, right?
Pretty much anytime there's some kind of sexual predator around, there's always somebody that's saying, no, you ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not, the situation would have to be right. All the stars would have to line up for a sexual predator to take advantage of a mentally ill guy. And
in New York State.
Right. I'm just talking what I know, right? So I only know New York State, but so everything would have to line up because there's always somebody that's not going to tolerate that shit.
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
I don't tolerate it.
I don't tolerate it.
I didn't tolerate it.
If you guys saw someone targeting someone.
Absolutely. When I was in Bear Hill, they targeted this kid.
Yeah.
They called him Reddy because he had red hair. He had a fucked up crime. And so the Bloods, members of whatever branch, street branch, because they got so many different affiliates, were taking advantage of him. They were trying to abuse him, sexually abuse him in the bathroom. And, whenever I was around, I said, listen, that's not going to happen. Not when I'm here. All right. Number one, I don't want to see that. I want to know that. But eventually, and this is, I think we talked about this before too, eventually he told his mother. And then his mother got involved, and then all of a sudden now they're calling him a rat. Well, no, you made him a rat because you put him in a no-win situation. They were taking advantage of his packages, they're taking advantage of his commissary, they forced sexual acts upon him, all because he had a fucked up crime. And I'm not saying that, I don't, whatever the crime was, I didn't care, but
not on your watch.
Not on my watch, please.
That's what I was wondering, if you would have
watch.
Also stepped in when it was a sex offender or something. So, yeah,
I don't care who he is. I'm saying and a perfect example, you want to talk about sex offenders. When I was in the Eastern, they have these tables out in the yard. And so we all go out there, especially in the summertime, you go out there, you sit there, you play cards, you talk, you talk shit. So these 3 new guys had come into the facility. And so this one guy, his name was, he called him Spider, right? Now Spider didn't know that we already knew his pedigree, all right? He thought that, he was clean and clear. So he's talking about the 3 new guys, an old guy and a couple young guys. Oh, this guy's a rape-o, this guy's this guy's that. And he's just going on and on and on. And so finally I said, dude, you're in jail for beating your wife. You're a wife beater. Do you really want to fucking talk about other people?
Yeah.
Seriously? And he was he was like, oh yeah, well, we thought we didn't know. Just because we don't say something doesn't mean we don't know. what you're in jail for. Because you come and because he came, he comes out, he's loud, he's doing all this other shit, so he figures, oh, he's cool. And because he's got the name Spider, ooh, that's such
just
a threat.
hiding out, yeah.
And so, the old saying, if one finger is pointing at somebody else, there's like 3 other ones pointing back at you.
Yeah. Have a lot of people lost their minds from being there, from being in the box? Or
You think? Long-term confinement definitely fucks with you mentally.
You can grab.
He would know about that more than me. But,
You can grab an animal on the street that is not domesticated. Say you
Feral
can
cat.
trap it. A feral cat.
Yeah.
You can trap that animal and throw it in a cage. That animal's going to kill itself trying to get out. Humans are no different. They don't belong in a cage. Some of us can reason through it and control our emotions enough to get through it, and the rest of us can't. So it goes back to what I said before. You either do the time or the time does you, right?
Yeah.
And when the time starts to do you, the first place it starts to do it is in your mind. And so
You start having delusions. You start having fantasies about officers.
some of us can take it, some of us can't.
I don't think any of us can take it. We just find different coping mechanisms.
Well, I've said before, and I've said this to P before. I said, I did go crazy for a while. You do. I mean, there's levels of that. But some of us come back. Dave never did, and some of us don't.
That's the thing. You said this to me privately once, that people always say, how did you remain sane?
You just do it one day at a time.
I didn't.
And you say you didn't.
I didn't. I didn't.
I did two bids in the box, both relatively short bids. First one was like 60 days, and the second one was like 30. But while you're in there, that's a whole different world. That's not general pop. It's a whole different world. Number one, you're not coming out of your cell, especially in the S200s. You're not coming out. They stick you out in this little cage in the back for your hour of recreation. You get a shower 3 times a week. They turn it on. They may or may not tell you it's on, right? And then you thinking that you're going to get it later on. Oh, it was on at 2 o'clock, and you thought you were getting a shower at 6 o'clock, so that's the time you got it before. They're fucking with you. And then it's double bump. And if they really don't like you, they put some other asshole in the cell with you. Like they'll put 2 opposing gang members in the same cell.
In the box?
Yes. I remember when we were in Mid-Orange and I got that little 30-day stint from your girlfriend, all right?
Oh yeah.
He said, oh yeah. Anyway, they give me the bottom bump, and then a couple hours later they send in this other guy, this young kid. And he comes in, he says, Joe, boom, 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 boom. He was a Crip. I said, well, I'm a JW. He goes, well, what the hell is a JW? I said, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. He says, oh, thank God, man. He said, I thought you were a skinhead. So I told him, I got 2 rules. Number 1, don't bang on that fucking door. Don't bang on that door. Don't be banging on that door, talking on that door all fucking day. He said, well, what's the second rule? Refer back to the first fucking rule. Don't bang on that fucking door. That shit annoyed them. You had they're on the door all day. It's the only communication they have. And they kick the door. I said, don't do that, because I will fuck you up in here. But after that, we were good. But you don't hear about it because they don't want you to know about it. Mm-hmm. Now, under Commissioner Coughlin, when we first went in, Coughlin was the commissioner. He came from mental health. Things were a little bit different under Coughlin. There was more of a program approach, to corrections. Once Coughlin retired and they brought in Commissioner Gore, all that shit went to the wayside. They only did mental health programs because they were getting subsidies. If the state of New York was not getting federal subsidies to treat these people, they wouldn't treat them at all. Fishkill has a decent program. Sing Sing probably has the best program in the state. And that is due to the superintendent that is there, Capra, right? Because he makes sure, well, of course it's a feather in his cap because he has, he probably has other, connections.
You mean for mental health?
Yeah, he gets a feather in his cap. Whenever they have conventions and all this stuff with Department of Corrections and mental health, he gets invited. I'm not saying that's his motive. I'm just saying that, it's obvious to a duck that if there was nothing to gain from this, he could probably be the biggest scumbag too. But I don't know how the program runs in Greenhaven. I don't.
I've never seen any mental health program in prison that works.
Yeah.
And it can't work. By design. All right. So here's the deal. It's corrections.
Yeah.
Corrections is a family business. We've talked about that. The same thing goes for every aspect of corrections. So if you take a mental health department and place it inside of corrections, you could transplant the best mental health department from any place in the world and drop it right smack in the middle of Auburn Correctional Facility. And within 3 to 5 years, that system is corrections, period.
Because that's what they do.
It's a disease.
Yeah.
So it's like COVID. It's corrections. COVID is corrections, if you can look at it that way. They live, they breathe, correction. So everyone coming in there, pretty soon, it's either you go along to get along,
Or you're not there anymore.
or you quit. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so mental.
And even if you were a mental health nurse, you would.
They bully them. They bully them. They bully
Yes.
them into complying to what they want you to do. They fired psychologists in Eastern Correctional Facility. They fired 2 or 3 of them because they weren't towing the line. So they just, okay, you're done. And then they got somebody who wasn't as, who was towing the line, who was going with whatever the motto of correction was in dealing with this. If you're trying to do your job, trying to do the right thing, they're not going to let you do the right thing. Because that's not how they think, that's not how they train, and that's not the environment for it. You cannot treat mental illness in a correctional facility. It's just not going to happen. Not with any success rate, because if the physical threat doesn't, then they just medicate. They over-medicate these guys. These guys are walking around like zombies. Remember the medication line in Woodburne? Guys are doing the THORAZINE shuffle around the freaking block. Because that's how they treated them there. You give them medication, they sleep most of the day, and you're good. They're not trained. No facility, I don't care how many professionals they got in there, because like he said, after a few years, they all toe the line. Because you're not going to walk in that facility and thinking that you're going to do some good and that the COs are going to let you get away with it.
You're not changing anything.
You're not changing. There was a female officer at Sing Sing, they finally got rid of her, who was at the processing center as you go into the visiting room. And volunteers would come up. And I talked to these volunteers, they would say, and she would ask them, well, why are you here? Why are you doing this? What do you think is going to happen? And she would bust their chops just to get in the facility. These are people who aren't even paid. And eventually, after enough complaints, enough investigations, and what happened is, it's like with everything else, she got emboldened. And she did it to a first dep that she didn't realize was the first dep. And the first dep, slapped her figuratively, her shit in the dirt. And she was finally removed. But she'd been doing that for years, harassing visitors. After a time, even nurses, everybody in the medical department at some point becomes very, very callous. I've only seen a couple nurses step up. I seen one nurse in Gowanda step up after they put this guy's face through a security window, and they tried to cover it up. She says, "There's no way I can cover this," and they reported it to the police. The only thing about Gowanda is right there in Buffalo, and Buffalo has the field office for the FBI and all that. So I've seen a lot of strange stuff going on, but they abuse people up there all the time. They take them to the box, and once you're in the box, you're in their world.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in their world all the time, but in the box, it's more focused.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want to do to you, and you don't have to get visits or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're going to abuse you. But with the guy Harold from Fishkill, they handcuffed this guy. They beat him and they threw him down a flight of stairs and they killed him. And they just walked away like nothing. If either one of us had did that to somebody or been involved in that, we would have been convicted within 6 months.
You didn't tell me the story, but you said once there was a mentally ill guy who was near you who wrapped himself in toilet paper.
No, he was my neighbor.
Oh.
And we were locked in. It was a Sunday morning. We were locked in. The yard was not open yet. It wasn't going to open for a couple hours. He wrapped himself. First, what he did is he took his sheets off the bed. He tied his bars closed. He tied the door closed with his sheets.
So they couldn't get in.
And then he wet the sheets so they couldn't untie them. Then he wrapped himself in toilet paper. He squirted that toilet paper with baby oil and lit himself on fire and killed himself.
Oh my God. And were you guys shouting for help?
Sure. I mean, the fire alarm was going off and everything. The whole cell was just, flames were just blowing out of it like a blowtorch, because everything in the cell lit on fire. The bedding, everything you had in there was burning. So the flames were just roaring out the front, so the fire alarms were going off. And so his cell was on my left and the company door was on the left. to get off the company. So I couldn't even come out of my cell and go past his cell because the flames were blowing out of his cell all the way across the company and out the outside bars. It's like a blowtorch coming out of there. The walls are actually buckled. To this day, the walls on those cells are buckled.
Yeah, because they're metal.
They're metal. The fire was so hot and they're 1/4-inch steel walls.
Yeah.
And they're buckled. The fire was so hot. So I was stuck right there. Right, soaked a towel, laid on the floor, and put it on my head to breathe. I couldn't even breathe. So
I've seen that. That's the point where somebody put toilet paper. I've seen people set their cells on fire and just sit there.
yeah, wrapped himself in toilet paper.
I was in a box. I
and
watched a
baby
dude
oil.
do that. In a box, I watched a dude
Burn
do
himself.
that. Set his whole cell on fire. And the COs just stood outside the door like, what are you going to do now?
Oh my God.
Just like the New York City Police Department is not trained to deal with mentally ill individuals, the Department of New York State Department of Correction is not good. They'll tell you they are. They have all these higher echelons up in Albany who have all these titles and these pedigrees and all this stuff, but at the actual service level, you may have 1 or 2 people who are trying to do the job, but the system beats them down. And remember, why would you want to be a correctional officer?
Because your dad is.
Aside from the fact that your dad is,
Your mom is.
because your mom, your uncle, your
Brother?
granddad, you go to Clinton, they'll
Your
tell
fucking dog is a police dog.
you. Absolutely. Even if it's a pug, it's still a police dog.
It's a police dog.
I mean, you go to Clinton, they tell you, they'll give you their history. My granddaddy used to be the superintendent of this facility. Oh, well, that's so wonderful to know. Thank you for sharing that. Who gives a fuck?
Any humans in your family? No,
Yeah.
just COs. Okay.
They had a guy in Cooksaki who had a mental break. His mother died. He had a mental breakdown. He started
Slicing his penis.
I mean, he was just slicing it and slicing it. And, he almost took it all off. So how did the COs deal with it? They beat the crap out of him.
That'll teach him.
Oh, that's going to learn him. He was trying to cut his dick off, so let's just beat the crap out of him. That's how they they don't know how to handle any of this stuff. And then when it's over, they just sit back and laugh and tell stories about that.
I remember there was this guy in Auburn. He was doing forever. He had forever in a day. He had like 3 life sentences or something, right, when I knew him. And this guy, to get out of the prison, to get out, he would swallow spoons. He'd swallow forks. He'd swallow anything that they couldn't get out without surgery.
You had to go to the hospital.
They'd take him to the hospital. They'd have to do surgery on him, cut this shit out of his stomach, and he'd be out there 4 or 5 days, maybe longer. So he'd be back, he'd heal up, and he just had scar tissue all over himself because he would swallow stuff that they had to cut out of him just to get out of prison for a few days and be normal in a hospital.
Yeah.
That's mental illness in prison.
Yeah. There was a guy in Eastern that used to keister stuff.
Light bulb. Remember, he got the light bulb stuck in there. He had to go out to.
This one guy got a hot sauce bottle stuck up his rectum.
Said he sat on it by accident.
Said he sat on it
It was
by
a terrible
accident.
thing, Doc.
Right.
I don't know how it happened. So,
But there was another guy who they were sending to the box, but he said he didn't feel well. Stomach was hurting. So they take him down to the hospital, they give him an x-ray. X-ray shows he's got, and I exaggerate you not, he's got 2 hard-boiled eggs and 2 mayonnaise packets stuffed up his rectum. And they're showing everybody the x-ray because nobody's going to believe this story. So
he's warming his lunch.
And so now his rectum muscles have tightened to the point that they're not going to release. So now he's backed up because all that crap that he ate before, it's got nowhere to go because his muscles have tightened up. So they got to take him outside to the emergency room. Being in the box, you're not in your right frame of mind. All you want to do is get through that day. That's how I was. I just wanted to get through that day without any serious confrontations with people on the other side of the door.
I thought you were going to say with your own mind.
Well, my mind was shot. We're all there's no one who goes through any of these experiences without any damage. Nobody. We're all damaged goods. Nobody gets through any of that experience unscathed. Nobody. How they deal with it initially is to medicate you. If they can medicate you, they can control you. All right. Now, when they came out with the pepper spray, remember that? Now all the facilities have pepper spray. So a guy's having a mental breakdown. So what do? You pepper spray him.
And then hit him with a stick.
And then hit him with a stick. Then you handcuff him and you pepper spray him some more. So how do you think this is going to end? Who was that idiot that played with us in the band?
Dave Coleman.
No, not him, you jerk.
Oh.
Trumpet boy.
Woody.
David Woods.
Oh, you know him?
Heard that story.
Oh, he's
About
funny
him
dude.
and his trumpet in the yard. He played in your band for a little bit, right?
A little bit. Every time he got fired, but our buddy here fired him.
Why?
Every time. They can only play in one fucking key.
Yeah, B flat.
B flat. David
Story
Woods.
about him when he was annoyed some guy in the yard and the guy smashed his
He
trumpet.
beat his
They
trumpet
did.
flat
They
with
beat
a
it
weight.
flat.
Yeah. He said, "I
He
guess
was
I
so
gotta do
devastated. He
something."
went to the chapel. I heard he
cut himself
slashed
up,
himself.
yeah, he cut himself,
I mean, they
yeah.
eventually got somebody to give him a new trumpet. But there was a guy.
Ebersol gave him a new one.
Yeah, there was a guy who had mental illness, and if you didn't know that, you would just think he was. I mean, he was an asshole, but he was an asshole because he was mentally fucking ill. But he was. Yeah, he got fired in our band. How many times? Multiple times.
Every time you let him in, I fired him.
Yep. He said, "Come on in," because you know what?
Thanks for letting him in. That's compassion, at least.
He let him in to be an asshole because he knew that I was going to fire the motherfucker in the next couple of weeks. What was this, the 90s?
Yeah.
And this motherfucker was playing in the 40s.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute, though.
It's not cute.
It's not
It's not cute. He was annoying.
Like old jazz or something.
He was scared, yo.
Blues.
And when he got fired, he would go, "Dave, you think he's mad at me?" Nah, he's not mad. Come back in a couple weeks. We had fun, man.
Yeah.
I remember when you fired that little kid who could play guitar. He came in, he tried out. So we're playing. And so we said, okay, take a solo. And he never came back from the solo. He was still solo. And our friend here said, yeah, you're done. Just pack your shit. Get out of here. Said,
Fuck out.
You can't do a 20-minute solo, dude. It's not about you. It's about the song.
Yeah, just get the fuck
The guy said, seriously? I said, we kept trying to get your attention, and you just kept playing. So, yeah, you're done. Get out of here.
And how about that fucking...
The Russian? He goes, you blow that fucking saxophone one more time, I'm going to wrap it around your fucking neck. And they went out all over the auditorium. And the guy goes,
I didn't know the mic was on.
I think he's mad at me. I was like, yeah, if I was you, I wouldn't blow that fucking saxophone again.
We were at a show, weren't we?
Yeah, we were doing World AIDS Day.
We were doing World AIDS Day. And this
That
fucking
shit
guy,
was
man,
hilarious.
He
was
just wouldn't
scared to
stop.
death. He didn't know what to do.
I took my guitar off and everything. I
Because-
took my guitar
because
off, set it down. I said, go ahead, blow
He
it.
would play
Yeah.
the saxophone through every fucking song, regardless of whether there needed to be a saxophone there or not.
Right.
And I understood he had a desire to play. But our friend here, he was like, nah, I'm tired of hearing that shit. This is like a broken car horn. And he didn't mean to say it. He came out over the PA system.
I didn't know the mic was on.
You can think,
I said, if you blow that horn one more fucking time, I'm going to wrap it around your fucking throat. And it went out over the speaker.
everybody heard it. Everybody stopped
like-
like, what the fuck? And he said, well, Dave, what am I going to do? I said, if I was you, I wouldn't blow that horn no more. He's
And he was serious?
Yeah, he was dead fucking serious. He was not a bully. He is not a bully. You have to actually go out of your way to get him to give a fuck. But when you're fucking with something that he likes and you're doing it one time, maybe 2 times, he'll let it slide. But if you're starting to do this shit consistently, oh no, he's not going to let that. I said, listen, you think I'm the scary guy? No, I'm not the guy. I'm the guy who barks. I'm pretty loud and I'm boisterous. Yeah, I could be dangerous, but I'm not that guy.
But our friend here, that's the guy you got to worry about.
I
Dalton.
don't feel like you let things slide with me. I feel like you hammer me in the first fucking...
Listen, we think you're the only one he hammers? He hammered me plenty of fucking times.
Bullshit. I don't hammer you the first fucking time.
You do.
No.
I think. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think you do. I'll make a list.
Yeah, make a list, yeah.
Make a list, make a list.
Make a list. Yeah, definitely make a list.
BFG, that was his nickname for me.
Big fucking Dave.
Yeah, big fat guy. Big fat guy. I said, what the fuck? He goes, no, man, it's a big friendly guy.
Big friendly guy.
Big friendly guy.
BFG.
Fucking ass.
Let's do a sign off.
Thank God.
You're tired and grumpy.
What's with the grumpy dog?
Fuck, I'm
There's
so
no air
tired.
conditioning here.
Yeah, well, I definitely oppose that. We're not doing that again. You're going to get some air conditioning here, woman, if we have to bring it in personally.
Charlie
It's only-
offered to buy her one. She didn't want it.
Yeah, I'm doing this under protest. There's no air conditioning in this building, and that's very un-American. I'm just saying that right now.
There's air conditioning in this building, just not this apartment.
Okay, in this apartment, there's no air conditioning in, and I'm a big fat guy, and I need cold air.
You are a big
You
fat
guys
guy.
are both red right now, by the way. You're both equally. You look at him, you look at him. That's how red the other one is right now.
You're pretty red too, you know.
Because I'm embarrassed
Just red
now.
from laughing.
It's only 94 degrees out.
Only 94, yeah. Yeah.
Let's do a sign off. Don't take those mics off, guys. Put that back on, motherfuckers.
Ah,
She's
yeah.
kind of rough, right?
The first time. She didn't wait for you to take it off twice and say motherfucker. The very first time.
To put that shit back on, motherfucker.
Motherfucker. The first time you took it off.
But why do I got to be a motherfucker?
I'm
Why can't I just be a fucker?
trying to figure that out, you know.
I don't have any children, so I'm not really a motherfucker.
It
And
just-
every girl I've been with since I've been home, and it hasn't been a lot, none of them have kids either.
So there it is. Then he's never fucked
I'm
a
just a
mom.
plain old fucker.
He's never fucked a mom.
Not knowingly.
Can we do a sign off, please?
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad we
you wanna sign off?
Nice
Yeah,
mail.
yeah. Okay,
You may not want to call me back again. We can do this all night.
we can just do the sayonara,
Sayonara.
motherfuckers.
Oh, that was a good piece that you sent.
Senoritas.
Yo, that shit you sent me yesterday was good
Senoritas.
too. The guitar piece you sent me was
Oh,
good.
did you like that?
I did,
That's
actually.
pretty cool, right? She doesn't like it.
Well, guess the fuck what she likes. She ain't playing it.
She doesn't like my music.
Why do you don't like his music? What the fuck is wrong with you?
That's not true.
You don't like his music?
She doesn't.
That's
That's
not
one of the
true.
few fucking talents he has.
She told me it's dated.
Dated.
Yeah.
Or fucking dated to begin with. What do you want to listen to? Oh, what is it? My lipstick's popping, whatever that fucking bullshit is.
Partridge Family.
Yeah, that's what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Dated.
But
Dude, you dated.
That's what she says.
I'm glad somebody
Thank you for
realized
just fucking throwing me in front of the bus here.
You're welcome.
Somebody finally
You're welcome.
recognized your ass was out fucking
Yeah,
dated.
yeah. You notice we use music every time for the podcast. You know, she always throws something in there, right?
Yeah.
I have him send me something every Thursday, basically.
So every Thursday or Friday, I'll pull out the guitar and I'll just punch in something and
Like
just
we always
go.
do. Like we always did.
Like I always do. I just improv. And I'll send her 20 minutes, 30 minutes of music. She'll use 4 seconds of it.
On a loop.
And the next
because it's dated.
I'm like, but these 4 seconds are fucking
because
great.
it's dated, she'll find 4 seconds that sounds kind of
She ain't
okay.
gonna like. She's not gonna like my shows then.
God, I sound
Don't
such
come to
a-
my show then. I don't want you on my show. You'll be writing a review. Yeah, this fucking guy is dated.
Dated.
This dude's locked in the fucking 60s and
Yep.
70s. There's something wrong.
Looking for nostalgia, folks?
Fuck
Dated
you.
Dave.
Yeah, go get fucking Dave, that old fat fuck.
Yeah. If you're looking for nostalgia, come to Dated Dave's
Oh
show.
my god. Okay. I think
Sayonara,
for
motherfucker.
fun.
Oh, we could do some bubblegum pop. My lips get popping. My lipstick is popping.
Is that a song?
It is actually, unfortunately.
I don't know that one.
Look it up.
Don't. All right, so
He said don't.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Amigos.
Thanks for showing up. Hope you got something good out of this, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, because this was a clusterfuck.
It was.
Motherfuckers.
We did not stay on topic at all. We started off at one place and went somewhere else.
We never do stay on topic, but that's okay.
My shit ain't dated.
No one said that.
No, you said that.
You
No,
said
you
that.
said that. Or
You said no
no
one said
that
that.
about you. Don't make that face.
You said that.
You said that.
She just said no one said that. Then
We're
she said
doing
no,
a
you said that.
triangle point.
What the fuck it's gonna be? Did anyone say it or not?
You kind of said that.
I did not. He said
No,
that.
you said it.